Welcome back to the 120-day Keto Carney Gaps of Warlike Challenge. We are making some modifications to our program. If you saw the 30-day updates, then you saw the DEXA scan and the resting metabolic rate test, and you saw the profound changes to my body composition and my metabolic processes. Well, I've also had extensive blood work performed, and we are making modifications to the program in the interest of our health. If we look at the strict rules of the 120-day challenge, the changes are not that dramatic, but they are certainly worth noting. And in the entire Hacking Ultra, a systems approach to the Ultra Marathon, and this 120-day challenge, we are engaged in biohacking. And in hacking, or rapid development, it's key that as we take in data, we have to constantly be reevaluating our protocol, and we have to modify our protocol as appropriate according to the data. So here's what we're doing. As we know from the beginning of the challenge, we've always planned to supplement sodium, potassium, magnesium, and I'm adding supplementation of collagen peptides. This actually is still within the original rules of the challenge because this is a highly refined, a processed form of ruminant meat and bones. So while the challenge focuses primarily on whole foods and avoiding processed foods, the potential benefit we can get from adding this food to our program in terms of building strong, healthy bones, building muscle. And another thing that makes this a food is that it has calories, 70 calories. It has whole proteins, has sodium. So again, this is not a modification to the program, but I felt like I should call it out because it is a new food. The next addition, creatine monohydrate, is technically not a food because there are no whole proteins or fats or carbohydrates in this. It's simply made up of individual amino acids. We're adding the creatine monohydrate supplementation because right now exercise is very important to building our strong bones. And what creatine monohydrate does is, as we saturate our muscles with creatine monohydrate, our body converts that to phosphorocreatine. And if we remember from episode 2, the way we access energy in our fuel is through utilizing ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And we utilize the ATP, a phosphate is removed from ATP, making it ADP, adenosine diphosphate. Well, when there's sufficient quantities of phosphorocreatine in your system, the phosphorocreatine can lend a phosphate to the adenosine diphosphate and turn it back into adenosine triphosphate. So this helps increase our recycling of ATP, ADP, and it allows us to get more out of our exercise. Again, there are no whole proteins, so there are no building blocks. This isn't going to add mass. This is not a food. What it simply will do is potentially give us access to more energy in our muscles when we're exercising, get more out of our exercises, and stimulate that bone and muscle growth. So far, we haven't changed any rules of the challenge. Now we're going to change a rule. Today is day 48. In 12 days at day 60, we enter the phase day 60 to 120. We define this 60-day period, a whole list of foods that we might potentially introduce. And of course, we said we'll introduce them slowly. Some things like bacon, when we introduce that, we'll give it a few days, and as long as everything's fine, we'll move on to the next food. Other things like adding lactose, fermented dairy, actual carbohydrates. Remember, lactose is galactose and glucose together, whereas sucrose is glucose and fructose together. If we add something like that or dry cheeses, I'm going to give that food a whole week at least to see how I react to it. But we did define these 60 days relatively loosely as to what foods will be introduced in what order and how much time will be given to each food to gauge the adjustment. Well, I'm calling an audible here. We're modifying the program. We are starting the rules for 60 to 120 days, 12 days early. I'm adding sardines packed in water with the bones and skin. The reason for this is simply I am not willing to wait 12 more days for the potential health benefits of adding this food. Remember, I'm the boss of the challenge. The challenge is not the boss of me. So we are going to eat 1 can of sardines every day for a week, and we'll see how it does for us. So that's the big update. We're making progress. Within the next few days, I'll post an update where we'll go through my blood work in detail. It's not all bad news. but we're going to be dodging medications so we can get through the next few months of lifestyle nutrition interventions to see how that is reflected in our blood work. Watch out for that update the next few days. Thanks for being here, and I'll check you guys later.